Hello there and welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about how you go about motivating a youth sports team. How you going to motivate those youngsters. That's what we'll be discussing in this video. So motivation, if we're going to really delve into this, we've got to talk about the psychology. I'm going to give you some strategies for how to go about doing this. And we want to kind of tie that into how we define winning, those three things and more. That's what we're going to be covering in today's video. There's really three different aspects of psychology I'm going to first talk about, and then I'm going to kind of delve into something slightly different that's still psychology related. But the three main aspects that you're going to kind of talk about if you're dealing with the psychology of motivation. The first is this idea of autonomy, and that is the individual's willingness to be engaged and choose it, right? It's got to be their decision. You can't really, external motivation isn't that strong. It's when it comes from inside and their choice that it really becomes powerful. The second is this idea of competency. When you are good at something, you are more motivated to do it, right? You get in a success loop. It feels good. You're having some success. You want to keep pursuing that. And this third is this idea of relatedness. And that is when you belong, when you feel connected to other people, that improves the motivation. So when you put those three things together, in terms of youth sports, you're going to help them want to keep pursuing and be motivated to do the sport. The other thing I wanted to talk about is this idea of a motivation strategy. When we do a behavior, we have internal strategies. They typically run by what we would call from computer programming, the TOTE model. So it's trigger or test, operate, test, exit. So something triggers you to want to do a particular behavior. We talk about youth sports, it is to get out there and compete. What's that trigger? What's the thing that starts that? And the operation is what's going on inside your mind that is beginning to create the feeling of motivation. Are you visualizing something? Are you saying something to yourself? Do you automatically begin to get this feeling? What order are you doing those things in? And then once you go through that process, you have this exit strategy, right? You test it. Oh, yeah, I'm motivated. Boom, I'm going to do the behavior. So that internal idea is your strategy for getting motivated. And understanding what somebody's motivation strategy is can be really powerful because then you can feed them that strategy. Like, so you get them to visualize, you get them saying something to themselves, whatever the order is, and that will help them get motivated. So if you are involved with youth sports, you're coaching them, or you're a parent even dealing with your own child, it's important to try to get them in this kind of success loop where you're focusing on the process of getting better and competing. When you're thinking about that process of doing that, it's easier to begin to get them into a success loop because everything, when you focus on the process, is about learning. It's about the lesson, right? It's not necessarily about the outcome. Now, when you begin to set that structure up and we begin to talk about winning, it's then about the striving to win, right? The outcome of winning will take care of itself when you are focused on the process and this idea of getting better and striving to win. You're trying to get them to think about in the moment what is their job. And so basketball, right? Your team has the ball. The moment is our job is to score on this possession. That's the job, right? Maybe it's a pass. You're looking for the best shot. That's the process your brain's going through. When you break it down that simple, all right, we didn't get the shot. We didn't make it. We turned it over, what have you. Boom, back on defense. What's my job? To keep them from scoring. All right, well, how am I going to do that? And when you break it down to simple steps where they are at cause and they have the choice in all this, it's easier to separate out the quote failures and really focus on the process and the autonomy, the choice making, and all of those things. When we are focused on the process and we're focused on the moment, we're focused on those little things, right? It's safer because you've set the whole frame that everything's about the striving and it's not about the final win or losing. It doesn't hurt quite as bad when they lose because all right, that's part of the process. That's part of the whole lessons. And that really helps to give that strength to the kids and help keep them wanting to keep coming back and keep learning and growing. The other component that parents and coaches, if they begin to kind of get good at it, is more a little bit more challenging for a coach if you want to think about the structure of what you're doing when you're coaching. But as you build relationships with your athletes, which hopefully you do, you can begin to listen for and try to see through their own actions what are the things that are really important to them. And you can even directly ask your team, all right, guys, why are you doing this? Be a question I used to ask. Why are you playing? It's fun. Good. All right, now, I think you are telling me that because that's what you want me to hear. What makes it fun? What specifically is it that's causing this to be fun? Because a lot of you, I think, probably have fun when you're hanging out with your friends at home, when you're playing video games. So why are you doing this? What makes this fun? When you hear their answers, you're going to get some of those values. And when you can attach the things you do to those values as you move forward, that's what causes the motivation. We're motivated to meet our highest values. So tying those things in is really what's going to help in the long run. One of the things it's important to try to understand is what is it that drives people who are in sports? And I often ask this question of people. If you knew that you could not lose and you ended up winning, is that thrill of victory now gone? And I asked that because I had an experience of being on a ski jumping team. And this was my senior year in high school. And we were good. We were unbeatable. We went into the state meet knowing we could not lose. That's how good we were. And I'm not saying that out of arrogance because I wasn't like the best ski jumper on the team. We just, when we looked at how we did all year and our talent, there was no way. You see, with ski jumping, occasionally somebody might fall. It doesn't happen very often because you jump, you land, everything's straight, there's no turns or anything. They're judging you by mostly on distance, some on style points. And you get a score. And then they score by the team by lowest score wins. So you get 1 point for first place, 2 for second, 3 for third, so on. There'd be 6 jumpers from each team competing in the state meet. There are 8 teams, so there's 48 jumpers. All 4 of our top scorers finished in the top 7 before any other team had 2 people scoring. We had all 6 of our jumpers finishing before any team had 3. We knew coming in there was no way we would lose. The thrill of victory was gone. And with that, there comes a little bit of motivation that's gone. Our motivation was, all right, we're going to try to set some personal records here. We were fighting with ourselves to stay motivated, not about competing against the other people. We were competing with ourselves in that moment. So we had to find ways to be motivated because that thrill of victory, which is so much often tied into the possibility of losing. And you need to kind of think about how to frame all that as you're motivating young kids. It's about getting better, striving for that winning, but also tying into this idea of the potential of losing and failure. Well, we came to the end of yet another video. I encourage you, as always, please consider subscribing to my channel. And you might be interested, particularly checking out the video, how to avoid burnout in youth sports. So you check that one out today and come back, check out some others, check out my podcasts, and I'll see you in the next video.